Have you ever felt that no matter how much you clean and organize, the clutter comes back as if it had a life of its own? You make an effort to organize your house, but in a few days, everything returns to chaos. What if I told you that the problem is not just the accumulation of things, but the way you organize and relate to your home? Japanese culture has ancient principles that not only transform spaces, but also the mind. Today, I am going to share with you 8 Japanese principles that will make your home more tidy, harmonious, and lighter. By the end of this video, you will know how to turn your home into a haven of tranquility and balance, effortlessly and stress-free. And best of all, with simple changes that you can start today. Stay until the end, because there is a secret that will completely change the way you see your space. Imagine coming home after a tiring day, and instead of feeling peace, you find piles of things out of place, overflowing drawers, and an environment that only generates stress. Sound familiar? The truth is that clutter not only takes up physical space, but it also affects our minds. A chaotic home can make you feel tired, unproductive, and lacking energy. But here's the good news. You don't need to spend hours cleaning or getting rid of everything to achieve a harmonious home. The Japanese have perfected the art of organization with principles that go beyond cleanliness. It is about create a space where energy flows, where each object has a purpose, and where emptiness is an ally, not an enemy. In this video, I will teach you 8 Japanese principles that will change the way you organize and live your home. They are simple but powerful strategies that will allow you to transform your space effortlessly. So stay with me until the end, because you will learn how to apply these principles in your daily life and achieve a home that truly makes you feel at peace. If you have ever tried to organize your house, and in a few days, everything is messy again, it is because the problem is not in how much you clean, but in how you organize and use your space. Japanese culture teaches us that a tidy home is not just about cleaning, but about live with intention. Each object must have a purpose. Each space must provide harmony. And the key is to eliminate the unnecessary so that the essential shines. The Japanese have developed habits that allow their homes to always stay organized effortlessly. And the best of all is that anyone can apply these principles, regardless of the size of their home or lifestyle. Today, I will share with you 8 Japanese principles that will transform your home and your relationship with it. These are not strict rules, but small actions that can make a big difference. If you apply these principles, you will notice how your home feels lighter, more spacious, and above all, more peaceful. Are you ready to discover them? Next, we are going to learn about each of these principles and how you can apply them in your daily life. Conscious detachment, less things, more freedom. Look around you. How many things are there in your house that you actually use? How many are there just out of habit, emotional attachment, or because at some point you thought they could be useful for something? The problem with hoarding isn't just the lack of space. It's the mental load it entails. Because every object we own requires attention, maintenance, and occupies a place in our minds, even if we don't notice it. In Japan, the idea of retaining the unnecessary is completely opposite to their philosophy of life. There, minimalism is not just an aesthetic issue. It is a way to free the mind and spirit. To apply conscious detachment, you need to change your perspective on material things. It's not about throwing everything away meaninglessly, but about making an honest selection of what really adds value to your life. A simple but powerful method is the following. Take an object, look at it carefully, and ask yourself, does it make me happy? Do I use it frequently? If he disappeared, would you really miss him? If the answer is no, it's time to let it go. But there is an important detail. In Japanese culture, it is not enough to simply throw things away. They are appreciated. It may seem strange at first, but when you hold an object in your hands and thank it for the time it was in your life, for the usefulness it had at the time, it is much easier to let go. I remember when I did this for the first time. He had a drawer full of letters, memories, movie tickets from more than 10 years ago. Each of those papers represented a moment in my life. And that's why it was so difficult for me to get rid of them. But then I understood something. Memories are not in objects. They are in me. So I sat down, took each letter, read it one last time, held it in my hands, and thanked him. Then I let her go. And in that moment, I felt something I didn't expect. Lightness. Practicing conscious detachment has immediate benefits. First, your home feels larger, lighter. With less things accumulated, order is maintained with less effort. But the most important thing is the emotional impact. When you let go of what you no longer need, you not only free up physical space, you also free up your mind. Because the less you carry, the easier it is to move, decide, and live without feeling tied to the past. So I extend an invitation to you. Today, choose a drawer, a shelf, a closet. Take out everything that's inside. Check each object. Ask yourself if it really adds something to your life. And if not, thank him and let him go. Because the less we possess, the freer we are. Before we continue, I want to ask you something quick. If this content is helping you, imagine how much more we can discover together to transform your home and your life. So right now, subscribe to the channel. This way you won't miss any new tips, and you'll help me continue creating content like this. Now let's continue with the next principle. Ready? Live in the now. Enjoy what you have today. How many things do you have stored waiting for a special occasion? That beautiful tableware that you never use, that elegant garment that hangs in your closet unused, that expensive perfume that you only allow yourself at certain times. We keep objects as if the future owes us a perfect opportunity to enjoy them, but what if that occasion never comes? In Japan, there's a principle called ichigo ichigo, which reminds us that each moment is unique and unrepeatable. There are no guarantees that it will happen again, so the best we can do is live in the present fully. It's not just about enjoying material things, but about understanding that the most valuable thing we have is now. Because what we don't use, what we don't enjoy, ends up losing its meaning. Applying this principle is easier than it seems. Start with something simple. Tomorrow, instead of drinking your coffee in the usual cup, use the one you save for special visits. Put on those clothes that you like so much without waiting for an important event. Spray on that perfume that makes you feel amazing, even if you're just going for a walk. And do you know what will happen? You will discover that the special occasion is not the event. It is you. I remember when I first understood this. I had a tea set that I had inherited from my mother. It was beautiful, with gold details, made of fine porcelain. He had kept it for years, waiting for a special moment to use it. But that moment never came. I always thought, not today, better another time. Until one day, while cleaning out the pantry, I realized something. If I kept waiting, maybe I would never enjoy it. So I made tea, took out the dishes, and used it for the first time, and I felt something incredible. It wasn't just a cup of tea. It was a moment of connection, a gift to myself. When we put off enjoying things, we are not protecting them. We are losing them. Because time doesn't wait. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So stop saving the best for later. Wear what you love. Enjoy what you have. Turn the everyday into something special. Because life happens now. Less furniture, more space. Free your home and your mind. You enter a room and without knowing why, you feel that the environment overwhelms you. You look around and everything seems to be in its place. But even so, there is something that does not let you feel calm. Has it happened to you? What we often don't notice is that the problem is not the visible clutter, but the excess of things. In Japanese culture, empty spaces are not seen as a lack of something, but as an opportunity. Less furniture, less unnecessary decorations, fewer obstacles. All this allows energy to flow and the home to feel light and harmonious. If every corner is occupied, if every wall is full of decorations, if every surface has something on it, the feeling of saturation is inevitable. And the worst thing is that we get used to living like this without realizing that we are surrounded by visual distractions that affect our well-being. To apply this principle, we must change the way we see our spaces. It's not about getting rid of everything and living in an empty house, but about making sure that every piece of furniture and every object really has a purpose. Ask yourself, do I really need this side table? Do I use this shelf? Or does it just collect dust? Is this piece of furniture making my life easier, or is it just taking up space? If the answer is not clear, it's time to rethink it. I remember when I decided to apply this idea in my home. I had a large bookshelf full of books that, although I liked them, I rarely reread. The bookshelf took up an entire wall and made the room feel smaller. So I did something radical. I kept only the books I really wanted to keep and gave away the rest. Then I replaced the bookshelf with a smaller one and left some empty space on the wall. The result? The room felt larger, lighter, calmer. Reducing the amount of furniture and decorations has immediate benefits. First, cleaning becomes easier. Less stuff means less dust, less effort, and easier keeping everything in order. Second, the environment changes completely. A clear space gives a feeling of calm, spaciousness, and freshness. And most importantly, by reducing visual noise, our mind also relaxes. So take the test. See every room in your house with a new perspective. Ask yourself if everything in it really contributes something, and if not, dare to let it go. Because sometimes what we need most is not to add, but to remove. The energetic flow. Create a home where harmony flows. Surely it has happened to you. You walk into a place and immediately feel peace, as if everything is in perfect harmony. But the opposite also happens. There are spaces that make us feel restless, uncomfortable, for no apparent reason. This is no coincidence. It is the effect of the energy flow of an environment. In Japan, home design follows a philosophy based on the circulation of energy. It's not just about decoration or aesthetics, but about how a space can influence our well-being. If a house is cluttered, if the hallways are blocked with unnecessary furniture, if the corners accumulate piles of objects, the energy stagnates. And when energy doesn't flow, neither does our mind. We feel exhausted for no reason, less productive, and even less cheerful on a daily basis. To apply this principle, there are certain key actions that can transform the feel of your home. The first is to clear the entrances and hallways. Many times, without realizing it, we fill these spaces with boxes, furniture, or decorations that make movement difficult. This not only makes the house look smaller, but it prevents energy from flowing naturally. The solution is simple. Leave these spaces free. Allow movement to be fluid, for there to be a feeling of openness in each area of your house. Another fundamental aspect is natural light. In Japan, homes make the most of sunlight because it is believed to purify the environment and renew energy. If your curtains are thick or you keep the windows covered most of the time, try making a change. Use light curtains, let the light in, and watch the feel of your home change. An illuminated space not only looks cleaner, but also improves mood. I remember when I applied this in my own home. There was a room I didn't like being in, but I didn't understand why. Everything was in order, but something felt heavy. One day I decided to look more closely. I realized that I had furniture blocking the light, shelves full of things in the corners, and an unnecessary table in the center. So I made changes. I rearranged furniture, cleared corners, and allowed natural light to come in unhindered. The result? The room was transformed. It stopped being a dense place and became a space where I felt calm. If you want to feel an immediate change in your home, Try these adjustments. Keep hallways clear, maximize natural light, avoid accumulating things in corners, and ventilate your home regularly. You will notice the difference. Because when your space flows, you flow too. Cleaning as a ritual transforms a task into an act of well-being. For many people, cleaning the house is a tedious obligation, an endless task that always seems to come back. We spend hours sweeping, dusting, washing dishes, and the next day, everything is dirty again. It's a cycle that never stops. But in Japan, cleanliness is seen in a completely different way. It's not a burden, it's a ritual. Buddhist monks sweep temples every morning, not because they are dirty, but as a mindfulness practice. In Japanese schools, children clean their own classrooms, not as a punishment, but as part of their training. The idea behind this is simple but powerful. The external order reflects the internal order. When we clean with intention, we not only eliminate dust, we also renew the energy of the space, and with it, our own mind. Applying this principle at home can completely change the way you experience cleanliness. First, it is important to do it with presence. Many times we clean in a hurry, thinking about everything we have to do later. But what would happen if instead you focused on the moment? When you sweep, imagine that you are eliminating worries. When you wash the dishes, feel the temperature of the water, watch the suds, appreciate the moment. Turn each action into an exercise in awareness. Another key aspect is to adopt the little but constant philosophy. Instead of waiting until your house is a mess to do a deep clean, spend a few minutes each day maintaining order. In Japan, this practice is known as soji and consists of carrying out small daily tasks so that chaos never accumulates. It can be something as simple as wiping down the table after eating, sweeping a room before leaving, or folding laundry as soon as you pick it up. They are small actions, but when they become habits, they effortlessly keep the home in balance. I remember when I changed my perspective on cleaning. Before, I saw it as something annoying, something I had to do because it was necessary. But when I started applying it as a ritual, everything changed. I played soft music, lit some incense, and allowed myself to enjoy the process. I discovered that instead of being a burden, cleaning could be a moment of calm. And best of all, by making small efforts each day, clutter was no longer a problem. If you want to try this at home, keep it simple. The next time you clean, do it with intention. Feel every movement. Appreciate the transformation of space. And above all, remember that it's not just about keeping your house in order, but about giving your mind a place of peace. Purchasing with purpose. Less impulse, more meaning. We live in a society that constantly tells us that we need more. More clothes, more gadgets, more decoration, more of everything. We are bombarded with irresistible offers, with discounts that seem like unique opportunities, with the idea that happiness lies in the next purchase. And so, without realizing it, we accumulate. We fill our homes with things we use once and forget in a corner. Objects that at first excite us, but over time become noise. In Japan, the mentality is different. There, buying is not an impulsive act. It is a conscious decision. They prefer to have few, but quality objects. Clothes that last for years instead of fads. Beautiful, sturdy tableware instead of piles of disposable plates. It's not about depriving yourself, but about surrounding yourself only with what really adds value. And when you understand this, your relationship with things changes completely. To apply this principle, the first step is to question each purchase before making it. The next time something catches your eye in a store, stop for a moment and ask yourself, do I really need it? Is it going to improve my life in any way? Or do I just want it because it's cheap, because it's fashionable, or because it gives me momentary satisfaction? A very useful method that the Japanese apply is the 30 days. If you see something you want to buy, wait a month before making the decision. If after that time you still feel like you need it, go ahead. But most of the time, you will find that the urge disappears. I remember when I decided to take this approach. Before, every time I saw something nice for the house, I bought it without thinking. A vase, a lamp, one more painting for the wall. But over time, my home became filled with things that didn't match together. Objects without purpose, elements that didn't contribute anything real to my life. So I started applying the 30-day rule. And it was incredible to realize how many times the initial desire faded. In the end, I was left with only what really made me happy. And my house stopped feeling cluttered and started feeling balanced. When you shop with purpose, the benefits are enormous. Not only do you save money and avoid clutter, but every object in your home has meaning. Everything you own is there because you truly value it. And that, instead of filling your home with meaningless things, turns it into a space where each element brings harmony. So the next time you feel the urge to buy something, breathe. Ask if you really need it. And remember that your home is not a warehouse for impulsive purchases, but a reflection of the life you want to live. Nothing is wasted. The art of making the most of it all. We live in a world where what does not serve us, we throw away. Clothes that we no longer use, food that is left over, appliances with small defects that end up in the trash without even trying to fix them. Without realizing it, we turn consumption into waste, and with this, we lose the opportunity to value what we have. In Japan, there is a principle called mottainai, which means something like waste nothing. It is a way of seeing objects and resources with gratitude, always seeking to make the most of them before throwing them away. It's not just about recycling, but about changing mentality. Instead of buying without thinking and throwing away without repair, the Japanese find creative ways to reuse, restore, and give new life to what seems to no longer have a use. Applying this principle at home is easier than it seems. Start with food. How many times have you thrown away fruits because they were too ripe, or vegetables that no longer looked fresh? In Japan, every ingredient is used down to the last bit. With vegetable peels, broths are made. With leftover rice, new recipes. Nothing is thrown away without first thinking about a second chance. You can try this at your home. Before throwing something away, ask yourself if there is a way to use it in another way. The same goes for clothing and household items. Instead of throwing away a garment because it has a small defect, why not repair it? In Japanese culture, there is kintsugi, an art of repairing broken objects with gold, highlighting cracks rather than hiding them. It's a reminder that imperfections can make something even more valuable. It's not just about cups or plates. It's a way of looking at life. If something breaks, it doesn't mean it has lost its value. I remember when I started applying this philosophy. Before, whenever something in my house stopped working right, my first reaction was to replace it. An appliance with a malfunction, a chair with a loose leg, a lamp that flickered. Until one day, I decided to change my mentality. Instead of buying a new one, I tried to fix them. I discovered that many times, what we think is no longer useful just needs a little attention. And the best of all is that doing so not only helps the planet, it also helps us connect more with what we own. Practice mottainai at home, it brings enormous benefits. Less waste means less unnecessary expenses. Taking advantage of what we have makes us more creative and teaches us to value resources. And most importantly, it changes our relationship with things. Because when we stop seeing objects as disposable, we learn to live with more gratitude. So before you throw something, stop. Ask if there is a way to give it a second use. And remember that everything, even what seems broken, can still have value. Respect for emptiness. The power of open spaces. When we see an empty space, we often feel the need to fill it. A free corner in the room. It seems that something is missing. A wall without pictures seems incomplete. A shelf with available space gives the feeling that more things need to be added. We have become accustomed to seeing emptiness as an absence, as something that needs to be corrected. But in Japanese philosophy, emptiness is not lack, it is possibility. This principle is present in many areas of Japanese culture, from architecture to art. In painting, empty spaces are as important as the strokes. In calligraphy, what is not written is part of the message. In homes, open spaces are not considered waste, but rather a way to allow energy to flow. And when we apply this idea in our home, something incredible happens. The environment feels lighter, calmer, more harmonious. To apply this principle, the first step is to learn to appreciate emptiness. Not feeling that a free space needs to be occupied, but understanding that its presence has a purpose. If there is a corner without furniture, it does not mean that it is incomplete. It means that it allows it to breathe. If a room has few decorations, it is not that it is missing something, it is that it is balanced. Changing this mindset can completely transform the way we organize our home. I remember when I first understood this. Before, every time I saw an empty surface, I felt the need to fill it. If there was a space on a shelf, I would look for something to put there. If a table looked too bare, I added decorations. But one day, after learning about this Japanese principle, I decided to do an experiment. I removed some objects, left more areas free, allowed the void to exist. And what happened was surprising. My house didn't look incomplete. It looked peaceful. The benefits of respecting emptiness are enormous. A home with more open spaces feels larger, calmer. There are fewer visual distractions, less chaos, less feeling of saturation. And on a mental level, this principle also has a profound impact, because when we get used to living with less, we learn to give more value to what really matters. So I invite you to try it. See your house with a new perspective. Instead of thinking about what you can add, think about what you can take away. Allow yourself to leave open spaces. Don't be afraid of emptiness, because in it, many times, we find true harmony. A flexible home. Adapt your space to your needs. Traditional Japanese houses have a unique characteristic. They are completely adaptable. There are no fixed rooms with a single function. The same space can be a living room during the day and a bedroom at night. The furniture is light and mobile. Objects have multiple purposes. Everything is designed to change according to the need of the moment. In contrast, in many Western homes, each room has a fixed and permanent use. The room is the room. The dining room is the dining room. The office is the office. And when our needs change, we often feel trapped in a space that no longer fits our lifestyle. Has it happened to you? Maybe you work from home now and need a functional area, but your home doesn't have the space for it. Or maybe you would like to have a meditation area, but you feel like there isn't enough room. The truth is that many times we don't need more space. We just need to learn how to use it better. To apply this principle, start by looking at your home with a new perspective. Ask yourself, how can I make my spaces more versatile? Perhaps you can have a folding desk instead of a fixed one to free up space when not in use. Perhaps you can opt for multifunctional furniture, such as a coffee table that doubles as a storage area. Or you could even change the layout of the furniture depending on the season or your daily routine. The key is not to see your house as something static, but as something that can evolve with you. I remember when I decided to make this change in my home. Before, my living room was filled with heavy furniture, a large table that I rarely used, and a bookshelf that only accumulated things. Everything was defined, rigid, with no possibility of adaptation. But when I understood this Japanese principle, I did an experiment. I rearranged the furniture, opted for lighter pieces, left some areas clear, and what happened was incredible. My house stopped feeling like a fixed space and started feeling like an environment that could change depending on what I needed. The benefits of a flexible home are enormous. Instead of feeling like you adapt to your house adapts to you. If you need more space, you have it. If you want a different environment, you can create it. If your lifestyle changes, your home changes with you. And the best of all is that by doing so, you live with more comfort, more functionality, and more freedom. So I invite you to try it. Look at your house with new eyes. Ask if each area is truly serving its best purpose. And remember that your home is not a rigid space. It is a living place, which must evolve with you. Small daily rituals, the key to a harmonious home. A tidy home is not the result of occasional deep cleaning. It's not about making a big effort once a month and then letting the chaos return. In Japan, the key to maintaining harmony at home is not in the amount of time you spend organizing, but in the small daily rituals that prevent clutter from accumulating. It is the philosophy of little but constant. Think about this. When something gets messed up at home, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not that everything suddenly becomes chaotic. Chaos is the result of small actions that are neglected day after day. A plate left in the sink, a coat that stays on the chair, a paper left on the table. All of this accumulates until, before you know it, the atmosphere becomes heavy and disorganized. The Japanese avoid this with simple habits that are part of their daily routine. One of them is the suji, a practice in which, every morning, they spend a few minutes cleaning and organizing their space before starting the day. It's not a deep cleaning. It's a way to make sure the house starts the day in balance. Make the bed, ventilate the rooms, clean a surface, put away what was used. They are small gestures that, when they become routine, always keep the home in order without effort. To apply this principle, start by choosing a simple habit that you can incorporate into your daily life. Maybe it's washing the dishes immediately after eating rather than leaving them until later. Or maybe spend 5 minutes each night putting everything back in its place before going to sleep. The important thing is consistency. If you do it every day, you will be surprised at how much your home changes without requiring much effort. I remember when I started practicing it. Before, I would let clutter accumulate during the week and then spend several hours on the weekend organizing everything. It was exhausting. But when I adopted the idea of doing small daily actions, everything changed. My house stopped being a space that required extensive cleaning and became a place that was kept tidy naturally. The benefits of these small rituals are enormous. You avoid the stress of seeing the accumulated clutter. Your home always feels cozy and balanced, and most importantly, order stops being a burden and becomes something as natural as breathing. So try this in your home. Spend a few minutes each day on a small action of order. Over time, it will become a part of you, and you will discover that the secret of a harmonious house is not in how much you clean, but in how you live in it. Throughout this journey, we have explored 10 Japanese principles that can transform not only your home, but also the way you live in it. We have talked about conscious detachment, living in the now, the importance of empty space, energy flow, cleaning as a ritual, shopping with purpose, taking advantage of everything we have, the flexibility of spaces, and the power of small daily habits. Each of these principles has a common message: less is more. And when we free ourselves from the unnecessary, we find what really matters. Maybe now you're wondering where to start. The answer is simple: start small. You don't need to make a radical change overnight. Just choose one principle, the one that resonates most with you, and put it into practice today. It could be decluttering a space, getting rid of something you no longer need, changing the way you organize a corner of your home, or simply becoming aware of how you use your environment. The important thing is to take the first step. Because your home is not just a place where you sleep or where you store your things. It is the space that shapes your energy, your mood, your well-being. It is a reflection of your interior. And when you care for it with intention, when you turn it into a haven of tranquility, everything in your life begins to flow in a different way. So now I extend an invitation to you. Look at your house with new eyes. Ask what you can change, what you can let go, what you can do to make your space truly a place where you feel at peace. And if this content has inspired you, subscribe to the channel to continue learning together. Because the path to a harmonious home doesn't end here.